Combat Society. It's good to be back. There hasn't been many fights at all since the new year, but there have been plenty of fight announcements. My name's Madison, and this is Tyrone. We're first going to get into some of the crazy and insane matchups that have been laid out for this upcoming year. First, we have John Jones and Anthony Smith, UFC 235. What did you think about that announcement?
Yeah, that was unexpected coming off his win against Gustafsson. I didn't think he'd get back in there this quickly. Talking 2 weeks out of the fight, and then he's signed another fight. It's clear, obviously, Jones is a massive favourite in this fight. Anthony Smith is a run-of-the-mill sort of light heavyweight, and this is a good opportunity for Jones to really cement his legacy even further. He wants to fight all these contenders in the light heavyweight division and prove to everybody that he is the greatest, regardless of any controversies, any steroid allegations. He wants to just wipe the slate clean and just go from there.
Yeah, let's just hope that no more controversy happens with him, and we can just have a nice clean fight. Also, we've got Tyron Woodley versus Kamaru Usman, which is the co-main event on the UFC 235 card, and I didn't really want to see that one. I wanted to see Colby, as we showed the poll last episode. Everyone wants to see Usman, and I thought he got a little bit hard done by. I thought Usman should have got that matchup, but nonetheless, it stacks that card even more.
Yeah, that fight is a bit weird, why they went with Usman. Now, the way I see that whole scenario is, so obviously Tyron's the champion, Colby and Usman are the two guys who are going to fight for the title. Now, you'd think that Colby would have been next in line since he was injured and he has waited for his opportunity. He's beat the same two guys that Usman's beat. He beat them arguably better, and then he gets passed over for the title shot. Now, is something going on there with Colby Covington and the UFC that would prevent him from getting a title shot? Because UFC want to make money. They know that that's the big money fight, Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley. Tyron wants that fight. Colby wants the fight. They all of them want the fight, but it went to Usman. So maybe there's something going on behind closed doors. Maybe there was a money dispute or some other type of dispute that's not being publicly announced, because it is weird that Usman has the shot for the title now, but we'll see. Yeah,
Colby has now said he's given the UFC an ultimatum that basically I'm going to leave, so you're going to have to release me, or you're going to have to give me the belt, title shot, to unify that interim title that he won. So who knows if Colby's going to be released here at this point, because he's not satisfied, and who knows. Also, we've got Rose Namajunas and Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade has been performing great over the past few years, and she's worked herself up to a title shot on UFC 237, and that's in Brazil. So she's going to have to go to Brazil to actually get another title defense, which is a hard task to do.
Yeah, so Rose is coming back now. This will be her second title defense after she won the title. Had that first defense, the second defense now, and we're going to see what she's made of again against another top competitor, and it's going to be a great fight.
And I think she's coming in maybe as the underdog here, possibly as the underdog. Yep.
Oh wow.
So we'll have to see. We've got another heavyweight clash that's been announced, and that's at UFC Wichita. That's Derek Lewis versus Junior Dos Santos. He's coming off that impressive victory over Tai Tuivasa in our home country of Australia, and that's a great fight.
Yeah, I reckon it's going to be really good, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, so that's the two big hitters, two huge heavyweights. So that's gonna make the heavyweight division a little bit more interesting with that matchup. But also, we've got heaps of cards that have been announced. UFC Philadelphia just got announced, and that's a bit annoying for Eddie Alvarez, because he actually just moved to one championship, and he was campaigning for a card in UFC Philadelphia, but never got it, so he just misses out.
But he should be doing okay, because he's from all reports he's got a really good relationship with one, and he's getting paid better than he's probably ever been paid from what he says. Yeah. So they're looking after him. I don't think it shouldn't really affect him that much that he missed out on that Philadelphia card, because his prospects at one are far greater, I think.
Yeah. Also, we shouldn't forget Cody Garbrandt's coming back from that layoff after losing to TJ Dillashaw. He's going to be fighting Pedro Munoz. at UFC 235. That 235 card is so stacked. It's so insane right now. Let's hope that stays the same. But yeah, Cody Garbrandt, who knows if he can work himself back up to that title shot. He is a champion. We have to remember that.
I think he is. I think he's the second best fighter. I think TJ is just on a different level. TJ's striking is more crisp. He's more well-rounded. But I think Cody Garbrandt is the second best guy. I think he just got too emotional in those two fights, and he messed up, and that's what happens. You get emotional, you start swinging for the fences, and if you get timed correctly with good counters, you can get knocked out. But I still firmly believe that Cody Garbrandt is elite, and he's the top of the pack for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. Just needs to get through Pedro Munoz, who has been fighting very well recently. Now we're going to talk about Conor McGregor again. He's in the headlines. He's actually called out Tenshin Nasukawa, unbelievably, after Floyd Mayweather has just beat him in an exhibition match. He said he wants to fight him in 2019, and Tenshin actually responded with a tweet saying he's open to that.
He might be open to it, but I don't think that fight's likely. For Conor McGregor to really just go out in the midst of all this talk about him, who's he going to fight in the light heavyweight division? You know, is he going to fight Khabib, Tony? Is he going to fight one of these guys? For him to just go out and fight Tenshin in an exhibition match, I think this is just hype, really, and this is just Conor McGregor trying to get his name back out there and following that Floyd Mayweather blueprint, which is to keep your name out there. It doesn't matter. You just say whatever you say. As long as people are talking about you, it's okay. And when he comes back for a real fight in the UFC, he'll still be relevant, and he'll still make big money. And it's a blueprint that's worked for Floyd his whole career. So I don't make much of this potential exhibition match. Would Dana allow it, or is that covered in the contract? Or there's a lot of messing around that would be involved if that fight were to happen. So I don't make anything of it.
Yeah. Conor McGregor I think he's got a lot of matchups in the UFC, so he doesn't need to go and fight Tenshin. I don't think it's necessary at all, just for really anything. I don't think it gives him any purpose, really. He can go to the UFC and he has a lot of matchups like Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier. He's got Tony Ferguson. He's got all these fights. He's got Khabib again, possibly, or Nate Diaz. And he could just fight those guys. But another guy who had something to say on that, Faris Sahabi, had something to say. What did he say?
He said, so he made a comment explaining that he was basically saying that the fighters have now found a blueprint to beat Conor McGregor. That's roughly what he was saying. He was saying there's a way to beat him now. He's sort of been exposed, and there's a certain way to beat him, whether it's with the wrestling or we know he's good in the first couple of rounds, but then if you're coming up against a guy that's got more endurance than you and has more volume and more output and a better chin, you can get beaten. So he favored Max Holloway in a scenario, in a rematch scenario against Conor. And Conor fired back on that. He said, Conor had a tweet saying, "You don't fight. All you do is hit the clock. You don't know me."
If you don't know, Faris Sahabi is the head coach at TriStar Gym in Canada.
Very well respected. He
coaches George St. Pierre, Roy McDonald. He's a very respected coach. But so a lot of people take his opinion seriously. He does. I've watched a lot of his shows. He does his Ask Me Anythings, and he talks and goes in depth. So I don't know if it's personal, because watching and listening to Faris Sahabi over the years, he goes against Conor a lot of times. He backs against Conor. He backed Nate Diaz in both fights. He backed all these people against Conor. So I don't know if he has a bias against Conor, but in that fight against Conor and Max Holloway, I actually favor Conor. I believe Max Holloway gets hit a bit too much. He strikes 6 times. He strikes his opponent 6 times per minute, and he takes 4 shots per minute. So against Conor, you might have the best chin, but if you get hit by Conor, it's lights out, I believe. And I don't think Max will take it on the chin. I think he'll go.
Yeah. With going back to Faras, though, you got to respect his opinion. He knows what he's talking about. When he's not, it's maybe Conor's a bit out of line criticizing him or going after him. Maybe it could be another case of he's trying to get his name out there and just cause drama. But when you look at when you read the whole article or the whole quote from what Faras Sahabi said, he makes some very good points and he explains himself correctly. Now, you might have an opinion that's wrong, if you're an analyst or a coach or somebody making comments out in the public forum.
Yeah.
But the main thing is it's not if you're right or wrong. It's more if you explain your point correctly and have a scenario where your scenario will happen. If you can't explain yourself, then and you're just criticizing, then that's a problem. But that's not what we've seen from Faraz. He's been very respectful about it, and kind of just got a bit butthurt, I think.
Yeah, he has. He always explains his points well. He always gives reasons why. He's a technical coach. He analyzes the sport. He loves the sport, and so you do have to take some of it seriously.
And he does those breakdowns, those 1 hour breakdowns before big fights. He likes to explain them. Especially he does them a lot on Conor McGregor fights. When he fights, he does those 1 hour breakdowns where he takes questions from a live comment feed, and they're quite enjoyable to watch. They're very good.
Yeah. Now we're going to move on to we've got Luke Rockhold. He's been active, and he's tweeting and he's been in interviews. He wants to fight John Jones. He wants to move up. He's calling him all sorts of names, and he's gunning for that fight. These AKA guys, they want to fight John Jones. They want to avenge Daniel Cormier, Luke Rockhold, Cain Velasquez. They want to fight, and they're immense matchups. I would really like to see those ones happen.
Well, yeah, Luke Rockhold saying he wants to come up. It's interesting. It's interesting. He has some attributes for sure. He's tall. He's very long. He's not the same as Jones, but he's a close matchup. He has the dimensions for a light heavyweight. The only thing would be putting some extra weight on to be able to fight there. But he's got a great skill set. As we've said before with Luke Rockhold, he's got a very offensive striking game. His defense obviously needs some work. We know his grappling game's pretty solid as well. But honestly, I cannot pick Jones over anybody in the UFC. I really think he is the best fighter in the whole UFC, regardless of divisions or anything.
Yeah.
So I can't ever say that I think Rockhold can win that fight. I'd have to always go with Jones there. But if he's going to make a move to light heavyweight, that's really good. You don't have to fight Jones. There's some other guys in there that are really good matchups for him.
Yeah, Thiago Santos is coming up. Do you remember Thiago Santos actually beat Anthony Smith at middleweight, and now they've both moved up to light heavyweight. So there's a lot of matchups. But Cain Velasquez said, if Jones wants to fight, that can happen too. Cain Velasquez obviously coming off the layoff, and he's booked to fight in Phoenix against Ngannou. So if he wants to do that, that's possible as well.
Yeah, if he can get a win against Ngannou, Cain will be in that sort of title contention realm. He'll be there.
Yeah.
But DC is the champ, so they've said they're never going to fight each other. We don't know what's going to happen there. Maybe DC retires or goes back down to light heavyweight, fights Jones. Then eventually Jones fights Cain. I think there is a Daniel Cormier Jones 3 fight there. I really do believe there is a third fight. But we'll see.
Yeah, I'm surprised Jones doesn't want to go and get 2 belts, if I'm honest. I feel like he loves the legacy, so I feel like getting a second belt is what you want to do.
I think Jones is smart in the regard that he takes fights that he has a good chance of winning, even though he has fought everybody and he's taken some risk. He knows if he goes up to fight DC at heavyweight, that's a big risk. That's a lot of extra weight. That's another 30, 40 pounds. And when you're talking about a grinding wrestler like Daniel Cormier, he can really make use of those extra pounds. He can really make use of them. And that's something that Jones has never seen before. So, yeah.
Yeah, so he's not a small guy. John Jones has been criticized throughout his career because he's been fighting guys who are not as tall as him, not as long as him, but in heavyweight they're as tall, they're as long, they're like that. So maybe that's what he needs to do next. I would love to see it.
Well, I think an ideal scenario for Jones would be to, obviously, I favour him quite heavily against Anthony Smith. Maybe take on one more guy or 2 more guys, depending if Yoel Romero or Rockhold want to come up, beat everybody, and then once DC's left, then start going into heavyweight and start fighting those guys. Because there's some tough matches there. I do favour him in all of those matches, but we'll have to see. We'll see what he does.
I think the Brock Lesnar might be out of the picture because that Brock Lesnar needs to pay 500,000 or is it 250,000 to the Nevada State Athletic Commission. He needs to pay that before he can fight, and he is. It is known that he hasn't actually paid that yet. So who knows if he'll ever pay it, and we'll ever see that Brock Lesnar fight, because nobody's really talking about Brock Lesnar anymore, which is a shame because it would have been really cool to see.
Look, I'm actually glad that they're not talking about him, because obviously this whole thing started when Jones called him out after knocking out DC, calling out Brock Lesnar, and then all that drama happened, and then DC was calling him out, and then we knew there was obstacles with USADA with him, and it's a bit messy. He's not high level anymore. He's not at that level. He beat Mark Hunt. He was on steroids, but he's not elite caliber anymore. There are guys who are way better than him now. He's past his prime. He's been out of the game for so long. He's a strictly money fight. It's like a CM Punk sort of attraction at this point. I don't think that there's any relevance to him being in the division. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree to some degree, but I think that because of the freak nature of him, that's the only draw for him right now.
Yeah.
In Asian MMA news, One Championship are going to be hosting a One Championship Jakarta, and that will be on January 19th. That's the same day as ESPN, the first ESPN Plus card, which is TJ and Cejudo. So they're hosting a card on the same day. But the significance of that One Championship is that they will be getting a partnership with Bleacher Report Live and TNT. So that's a US partnership. So they're expanding their broadcasting to US. So that could be competing with ESPN Plus on that day, which would be interesting.
But so that Bleacher Report, that's a free service. That's all free. Yeah, that's all
Bleacher
free.
Report Live.
I love how One Championship are going down this road of streaming and free events. Their Bleacher Report's free. TNT's I believe, I'm not quite sure. It might be a free network in America. But I love how they're doing that. They want to get their fights out there. They want people to see their fights. They make money from advertising. They don't need to sell pay-per-views, and this is very good. They're really coming at the UFC with their new UFC with their ESPN Plus. Their deal. They're coming with this. We need to do this now. We need to compete. And I love it. It's good. It's really good.
Yeah, and they'll have a title on the line: bantamweight champion. Strawweight champion, Joshua Pacquiao. So he'll be fighting on that. And One keep putting on great cards. So it's good to see they're going to expand. Also, now we're going to get into your comments. We love the comments, don't we?
Love them.
Okay.
Let's have a look.
The first comment. If Conor headlined a free card like a fight night, how many viewers do you think it'd get? Oh. How many viewers do you think it'd get? Well, that would be pretty insane numbers, I think. I think we're talking upwards of 3, 4, 5 million, I think.
I think so.
So many people would tune into that.
Especially if it's free, every man and his dog will be watching that. Huge numbers. Way more than way more than a pay-per-view. 3, 4 million, 5 million is possible, yeah, for sure.
Do you reckon more than 5 million?
I'm not sure. I don't know the records I'm not quite sure on the records for Fox cards in the past, but I know they do pretty good numbers.
From what I'm reading, the Fight Night Boston peaked at 3.1 million viewers for his fight versus Seaver, but he's so much bigger now. So that could be, I would say, I would guess maybe 7 million.
Could do that.
7 million.
For sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anybody really believe that UFC 235 will remain that stacked? Do we really believe that card gonna make it as is? No, I mean, I want to believe, but fool me once, Someone's not optimistic. I think we have to remain optimistic in these times. UFC 235 right now is one of the most stacked cards that we've seen and could be for the whole year. So we don't want to lose fights on that card. We really don't.
Yeah, if it stays in one piece, which I'm hoping it will. I don't want to. Obviously, they've had some bad luck recently in terms of fights falling through, or last year and the year before. But remain optimistic on it. Everything looks all good at this point, so I would have no reason to think that anything would happen. So
Yeah, let's look at the amount of champions on that card. 1, Cody Garbrandt, or champions or former champions. Cody Garbrandt, 1. Tyron Woodley, 2. John Jones, 3. Robbie Lawler, 4. Holly Holm, 5. It's ridiculous. It really is a
very good talent.
It really is a good card, and we don't want to lose any of those, but it happens. It happens, and that's the fight game. The next one, if you're Sean Shelby and you need to match up Rockhold for his first light heavyweight fight, who does he get? Who does he get? That's the $1 million question. Who does he get?
What's his ranking in middleweight? He's like 4th or
He's got to be top 5, right?
Yeah.
He's got to be top 5.
Maybe 3 or 4. So you got to equally match him up with somebody of the same sort of caliber in the light heavyweight division.
I would give him Thiago.
A great fight is he wants to fight Jones. It's probably not going to happen. Maybe fight Gustafsson if you think you're at that level. If you think you're at that level, then fight Gustafsson. That's a very good fight. I think that's a great fight.
Gustafsson would be a ridiculous fight. Two big guys, 2 tall guys, similar range. They fight very, very good, and I think that could go either way.
Yeah, I think. Luke Rockhold's very he must be very confident if he's just calling out Jones now. That's not something you just do. You know, you don't just call out Jones unless you're pretty confident you can beat him. But you're not going to get that fight. So fight. If you think you can beat
might. It's not impossible.
I don't think. Jones has got a fight, and we don't know. I think maybe there's another. Maybe he wants to prove himself in the light heavyweight division against real light heavyweights. I think Luke Rockhold sort of coming in might be a gimmick, but a great fight for him is Gustafsson. I like that fight.
Me too. Last comment. I'm not saying Anthony Smith is bad. I just think to beat John Jones, he needs an Iron Man suit. Wow. Someone doesn't respect Anthony Smith. We have to remember Anthony Smith is a veteran. A lot of people don't even think he's a veteran or how many fights he's had. He's had like 9-10 fights. So, and he's been in Bellator. He's been in Strikeforce. He's been around the game forever. He's had nearly 50 fights. 31 wins, 13 losses, I think. So he's not by any means the best talent we've seen ever, but he's in there and he has heart, and that is proven time and time again. You can win like that.
You can win like that, but you can't win. I don't believe that you can win like that against Jones. You might be able to win against anybody else, but when you're coming up against Jones, the chance of hitting him with some lucky stuff it's so low. The chance of it happening is so low. Jones is so calculated. Everything he does is calculated. He's not the type of guy to get caught in some dumb shit. Really, he's not. You really need to come up with a crystal clear game. You need to come up with a crystal clear game plan, something that you know is going to work. And even DC came in with that kind of plan, a well sculpted game plan, and he still came up short. And that just shows you what kind of. You don't just need heart. You need a well-rounded skill set in every area. You need high-level grappling. You need high-level striking. You need high-level cardio. You need a high-level game plan. That's the only way you can beat Jones. And if you don't have that, then you don't stand a chance.
Then you need an Iron Man suit, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. So you are like agreeing. The comment, yes.
Yeah, Anthony Smith is gonna have to throw everything at John Jones to get a win here. What are the odds for that? What are the odds for him winning? I think it's so in favor of Jones.
13-1 or something.
Yeah. So Anthony, but there are those moments where there's such a heavy favorite. They're just like assumed that they're gonna win, and then they lose.
Well, this would be the kind of fight that you wouldn't even want to put money on Jones because even though it really is a sure thing, but. For the unexpected scenario, like Jones breaks his foot in the first 30 seconds,
that's a bit extreme.
Like that can happen. Like a scenario like that, like something that would be the only way I would ever think that Jones can lose his fight is if for some reason he rolls his ankle or something in the first 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and then Anthony Smith can win. That's the only way I can think, and that's a possible. That can happen. And that's why it's worth it.
Lucky overhand, lucky.
That's why it might be worth it to put $20 on or $30 on Anthony Smith. I think the only way, no, I don't even think that scenario is plausible, really. A lucky overhand. I don't think that could even happen. I think the only way it would happen is if Jones came into this fight injured or hurt himself really early. That's the only way I think that he could win. I know I'm being very, very heavy on Jones, but that's how I just think he's that good. So
yeah, he's very good.
yeah,
He's very. The best we've ever seen.
He's like this, like Jones.
And Anthony Smith is not the best we've seen. So
Yeah,
he's
that's
not.
right.
He's the number one contender right now, and
Has he been-
and it's in a pool of fighters that are not the best division.
Yeah.
It's not the best pool of
Has
fighters.
he fought
that we've seen.
OSP?
Who's fought?
Anthony Smith?
No, I don't think so.
Because look what Jones did. I think OSP might be a better fighter than him in terms of skill set. And look what Jones did to him in 5 rounds. Won every round. Wasn't losing a minute of the fight. Completely took him apart. And I think that's going to be even worse for Anthony Smith. I want to see what this guy's like on the ground because you are going to get taken down and smashed, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's had a lot of fights in the UFC. He's on a 3-fight win streak right now. But he did lose to Thiago Santos, as we mentioned earlier, who's another guy that a lot of people think should have got maybe a shot before him because he's tearing people up. But I guess Thiago Santos just went into the light heavyweight division. He needs to work himself up. I've said before, he's dangerous. He's very dangerous.
Yeah.
That's all we've got time for. Hope you enjoy the show. Make sure to like the video, leave your comments down below. Check the notification icon so you make sure you get all of our uploads.
And subscribe.
Definitely subscribe. And like us on Facebook and Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. That's at Combat Society AUS. And on Twitter, it's at Combat Society AU. That's all we've got time for. See ya.